Because you don't know what? Alexis de Tocqueville, he traveled this country. He said that a diverse and divided democracy, it's not supposed to stand for more than a generation unless there are spaces that bind us together across that diversity, across our differences. And you know what does that better than anything else? It's the private sector. It's American capitalism. It's our educational institutions. It's our churches and religious institutions. And what the woke movement does is it says that every one of those institutions has to adopt the same ideology, the same diversity, equity, inclusion agenda. In the name of inclusion, they've actually created a culture of exclusion where those institutions are no longer culturally in the mainstream unless they adopt these woke values. And that, too, will be what divides us to a breaking point.
What's going on, everyone? It's also getting here today. We're going to be analyzing Vivek Ramaswamy, unpacking wokeness, right? And I've been on this crusade against woke capitalism and as a whole topic in of itself. And what Ramaswamy is saying is pretty much true, right? Like I talk about how tolerance isn't submission, right? DEI, or these people who are so woke, they want you to essentially adopt their worldview. And if you don't adopt their worldview, they see you as opposition. This is why this is why around the world, people are starting to look at the United States as almost a cultural imperialist in a way, right? They want you, all cultures are created equal. But for some reason, if a culture says, oh no, we don't like gay marriage, aka Qatar, all of a sudden, all the wokies in the United States want us to go to war to free gay people from Qatar. Like, at the end of the day, this is one of the ideas, like, wokeness and people who push this stuff is only virtue signaling. Because I always ask, how far are you willing to take it? I thought a military intervention was bad. I thought colonizing was bad. So how can you justify colonizing another culture with your culture? I thought all cultures were created equal, right? And they don't care about contradictions because, in the day, like I said, wokeness only care about power. So before we want to go into the video, the source of this video is that Ramaswamy does a good job of unpacking what wokeness is. And one of the things I noticed too is that a lot of people have a hard time defining wokeness, right? I know Tim Coles just said, hey, it doesn't have no ideology. It's just a cult. Hey, do you adhere to the current script of today? That's what wokeness is. That wokeness forces conformity, regardless if even if it contradicts something is said earlier in the year. If it's the new thing, you jump on the new thing, no questions asked. Herd mentality. That's pretty much what wokeness is. But I think Vivek does a good job of defining it. Let's take a look at his definition, then we'll kind of unpack some of that thing going forward. Let's take a look.
You know what woke means? Here's what it means. I'm going to define it in neutral terms that nobody can deny, okay? Being woke refers to waking up to invisible alleged societal injustices based on genetically inherited attributes: race, sex, and sexual orientation. And further, it creates a hierarchy based on these genetic attributes to say that you're either an oppressor or you're a member of an oppressed class, which creates these invisible relationships that creates a social hierarchy. And what they say is we need to turn that social hierarchy upside down, or at least even it out, by using any means necessary, not just through government, but even through the private sector, even through our schools, and even through our economy itself, including the use of quota systems based on race, gender, and sexual orientation to correct for those alleged societal injustices.
Hey, I think that's a pretty good summary of wokeness, right? And he defined wokeness more on a physical level. But as we see in 2023, a lot of people consider themselves woke. They latch on to other things, right? They latch on to the fact that, I am neurodivergent or neurodiversity, right? It's starting to become a game of self-perception now. And I think that's the core tenets of wokeness. Like, wokeness, I think it started off that way, the way Vivek explained in the clip. But now it's progressed to a point where it's just rationalization. Hey, rationalize your victimhood. Show us how much of a victim you are. Oh, I may be born white, but I'm a they, them. I think I'm a kindred spirit, and I'm a lion on Thursdays. Like, it's getting out of control because anything as reasoning has gone off the rails, in my view. I start becoming more conservative, because one of the ideas of conservatism is that your rationale is guided by a methodology, whether that be empirical data, whether that be a religion. Conservatives understand that people, their reasoning has to abide by constraints, and not like, I know the reality of human nature. And I know, hey, certain things are feasible and certain things are not feasible. One thing that's not feasible is a man can never become a woman, no matter how much technology has progressed, no matter how much cosmetic surgery that person gets. In reality, that person is still male. I know that to be a fact because why? I understand human nature. And my reasoning is constrained by the knowledge of human nature. But if you untether that, right, gender is a social construct, you create you make it subjective. Oh, if I identify, then you can rationalize being anything. I can rationalize being a dog because dogs are just a name, is just language. Who defines a dog? How will you call a dog? I call a hyena, right? They try to make it this word game, like this game of, oh, you're labeling that, but that's not really what it is. When, like I said, language is a function of communication. Language has a purpose: communicate what you observe in reality to another person. And this is what we're getting into. We get into this game of where people are trying to deduct things with no constraint or with no respect to reality. Like, wokeness says, hey, I don't need no proof to justify my beliefs in things. While conservatives say, hey, I need proof to justify my conclusions about things. If I don't have it, I acknowledge and I'm humble enough to admit it's just mere speculation. And I think that's the divide that's going on. But hey, let's get into the next clip. Vivek will start going more into some counter arguments that he thinks is a good rebuttal against this whole wokeness narrative. Let's take a look.
Great. Now we've defined it. Now let's have a debate about it. Okay, what's wrong with this woke movement? There's a lot that's wrong with it, but first and most importantly, it creates division in our country. It tells you that if you're an individual, you're just on the tectonic plate of group identity, that you have no agency over your life, whether or not you're a member of an oppressed class or an oppressor group. That's what determines what you can achieve in life and increasingly what you're even allowed to think. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley summed it up when she said, we don't want any more black faces that don't want to be a black voice, that we don't want any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. What does that say? It equates the color of your skin, your race, with the content of ideas that you're allowed to have. That is wrong. It is anti-American, and it is fracturing our country to a breaking point.
I think this is one of the most, this is the biggest thing that pissed me off about wokeness, is that they conflate your race with your culture. So if I'm black and someone else is black, they assume we're from the same culture. Isn't that racist? Isn't that assumption racist in and of itself? Just like if I consider, hey, this white person is doesn't go through any struggle in life, right? I minimize every struggle they have. Oh, you're white privilege, right? That's racist. Just like if I condemn a black person, I'm like, oh, you're poor, you ain't gonna be nothing in life. You're lower than me because you're black. That's racist as well, right? And I like to call it down the middle. We all should be judged by one standard. All are judged by that standard, or no one's judged by that standard. The minute you try to make special exceptions, you cause division, and this is what wokeness is doing, intentionally or unintentionally. Anti-racist is racist because how they justify the terms. Oh, to absolve past discrimination, you must use future discrimination, but all you're objectively achieving is more discrimination, right? What they say, an eye for an eye makes the world blind. So if you counter racism with anti-white racism, you're still causing more division in the country. And then when the white people revolt back, you're gonna call it the white lash, right? Wasn't slavery technically a black lash? Like, oh, people were mad over the fact that they're being discriminated based on the color of their skin. If black people end up doing the same tactic that the white people were doing in the years past, you're just recreating the cycle, and the oppressed and the oppressor modules keep flipping back and forth. And it seemed like there's this assumption that, oh, because I'm a victim class today doesn't mean I will be an oppressor class tomorrow, and that's the lie that they tell themselves. Because in reality, human history has always told us, who's at the top now, whenever is not guaranteed they'll be at the top tomorrow. If you're oppressed in the past, there's no guarantee you won't be the oppressor in the future, because we're all human, right? Because black people like to say, oh, I can't be racist because I don't have power. Okay, when you do become power, you have all the habits of being racist without power. Once you have power, now you can act on it. That's all they're saying. Oh, I can't act on racism. A lot of people can't act on racism, or else they're gonna get a Title IX lawsuit. But here we are. We condone behavior for one group of people, but we will damn or punish another group of people for exhibiting the same behavior. All we doing is a double standard based on racial lines. That ain't gonna cause division. I'm just speaking facts. Y'all can disagree. You can feel how y'all want to feel. Y'all can make all the new definitions you want, but that's the reality of the situation. Because now in our culture, having victim status is something people are vying for now. People are in our country now, the nation of victims. Vivek illustrated perfectly in his book. Everyone's vying to be the biggest victim, because then the biggest victim means you're the biggest winner in our country. And that's a decay of our culture. Before, culture used to strive us to be the best of the best. Now we're trying to be the best of the best victims, best of the best oppressed. Who could be the biggest victim? That's what we're racing towards now. This next clip, Vivek's going to illustrate the death of meritocracy, the death of merit, because now we seem to value your victimhood status over your merit. Let's take a look.
It's also the fact that it ruins our culture of merit in America, that says you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's what Martin Luther King says. The woke movement says no. We have to use racial and gender-based and sexual orientation-based genetic criteria to equalize for injustices. They're trying to fight fire with fire, what they perceive as the fire of historical injustice. Well, now they're using the exact same methods to fight back against it, through race-based affirmative action, through other quota systems in corporate America or otherwise. That, too, is what's wrong with the woke culture, is that it is an assault on merit itself. And look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, do you still live in a country where the best person gets the job, regardless of the color of their skin, where the best person or the best student gets into college to pursue an opportunity in higher education? I think most of you know that isn't the case in America today. The fact that you're not allowed to admit it indicts our culture of free speech, but the fact that it's true indicts our one-time culture of merit in this country, which we've lost.
And I want to fight to get that back, because we're not in a country where race trumps merit now, right? We're pursuing these ideas, and what we're sacrificing in regards to this stuff, right? In medical school, they're trying to put this DEI crap in medical school. They're trying to act how diverse you are, how socially conscious you are. I don't need my doctor to be socially conscious. I need my doctor to know how to do his job. So when I'm sick and I have to trust him, I can believe in his abilities. But now they're talking about how there's a pandemic of underrepresented black doctors in medical school, and they're thinking about lowering the standards. Bigotry of low expectations. Now, when people like me start questioning the credentials of black doctors, they're going to use that as oh my God, people are so racist. They're assuming black doctors are lower skilled than white doctors. But you put that prejudice out there by lowering the standard. If I see two people and one is not held to a higher standard, they're not held to the same standard, it's hard for me to make a judgment call on who's actually the better doctor. So I'm gonna assume, hey, the one who has the toughest route probably has to be a lot better than the person who had a lower bar of entry. And this is why I say I want a shared culture of where meritocracy matters, excellence matter. And it seems like these people who are so pro woke, so pro DEI, diversity, inclusion, equity, they only want physical diversity. They don't want mental diversity. They just want everyone to look different but think the same way. Is that really diversity? Because the whole assumption of diversity is because people come from different they're different physically, they should think differently about these things. But all of a sudden, if you're a black person that speak out against this wokeness, for some reason you're not speaking for black people anymore. Who defines that? Who defines what's good for black people? Shouldn't the group in and of itself define what's good for their people? Just like when these wokies come out here and try to put gender neutral terms in Hispanic language, which is a very gendered language. That's Latino and Latina culture. But they want to come here and say, no, you need a word Latin X. You know how much my Hispanic wife hates that word? But they don't care. This is what I'm talking about. It's culture to submit to your culture because you think you know what's best for them. And this is the folly of this. This is the fallacy that these people, these wokies in our country think they know what's best for us when they don't. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Are you tired of this DEI stuff? Are you tired of this wokeness? Do you think that America could ever get back to a place where it values the person on their merits and not on their skin colors? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, hit the bell and notification so you're always notified whenever I release a video. I really do appreciate you guys for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.